July 19th, the final whistle blows. Spain has just won the World Cup. Not the goal. What happened after?
July 19th, 2026. The final whistle blows. Spain has just won the World Cup. But what happens in the next 60 seconds is what everyone's going to be talking about for years. Not the goal, not the trophy, the fight. And by the time you finish watching this, you'll understand why people are calling this Argentina's most embarrassing moment in football history. It started so simple. Ferran Torres scores in the 106th minute. Extra time. Spain wins 1-0. Their second World Cup title ever. The perfect ending to a perfect tournament. Except, it wasn't the ending. Because the moment referee Slavko Vincic blew that final whistle, something snapped. Argentina's Nahuel Molina made contact with Spain's captain Rodri as he ran to celebrate with his team. Words were exchanged. Then Spain's Eric Garcia rushed over to defend his captain. And that's when things went from tense to violent. Argentina's Leandro Paredes grabbed Garcia by the throat. Right there, in front of the entire world, on live television, with 62 million people watching in the US alone. From there it was chaos. Gavi, Spain's 21-year-old midfielder, ended up on the ground. Thiago Almada pulled at his bib. Coaches sprinted onto the pitch. Even Argentina's own head coach Lionel Scaloni had to physically pull his players apart. This wasn't a scuffle. This was a brawl, on the biggest stage in world football, seconds after losing. But here's the part that really got people talking. During the trophy ceremony, the moment Spain lifted that trophy, Argentina's players turned their backs. They stood facing their own fans, away from the podium. And remember, Spain had just given them a guard of honor minutes earlier to walk up and collect their runner-up medals. So when Argentina turned away like that, a lot of people didn't see it as heartbreak. They saw it as disrespect. And while all this was happening, there's one image that went viral faster than anything else. Spain's young star Lamine Yamal, kneeling in the middle of the chaos, hands together, quietly thanking God, while grown men fought around him. One frame, two completely different reactions. That split-screen moment is already being called one of the most iconic images of the entire tournament. Now FIFA isn't letting this slide. Their disciplinary committee has confirmed they've appointed a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor to investigate what happened after that whistle. Paredes wasn't shown a red card in the moment, but that chokehold could still cost him a suspension once this investigation is done. No timeline yet. But when FIFA uses language like potential breaches of the disciplinary code, that's not a formality. That's serious. And this is where the pattern comes in, because this isn't the first time. Go back to World Cup qualifying, a match between Argentina and Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. That game got delayed by 30 minutes before it even started, because fans clashed outside the stadium. FIFA opened disciplinary proceedings against both federations that time too. So when people say they did it again, this is exactly what they mean. Now, to be fair, losing a World Cup final in extra time after coming so close is devastating. Tempers were already boiling the entire match. Enzo Fernandez had already been sent off in stoppage time for a second booking. That kind of pressure doesn't excuse a brawl, but it does explain how things exploded the way they did. And not everyone on that Argentina team reacted the same way. Lionel Messi, even carrying the weight of that loss, was seen shaking hands with every single Spanish player, one by one. Even the people criticizing Argentina's behavior pointed to Messi as the one man who handled it with class. So, was this just raw emotion boiling over on the world's biggest stage? Or is this proof of something deeper, a pattern that keeps repeating? FIFA's investigation is going to answer part of that question. But the internet has already made up its mind. Drop your take in the comments, sore losers, or just heartbreak turning into chaos. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. And here's something else that's been quietly building in the background, because this brawl wasn't happening in isolation. Behind the scenes, reports are already surfacing about what could happen next. Sources close to FIFA's disciplinary process say Paredes could be facing more than just a fine. We're talking about a possible multi-match ban, one that could even carry over into Argentina's next major tournament. That means the consequences of these 60 seconds could follow this team for years. And it's not just Paredes under the microscope. Molina, the man who threw the first shove, is being reviewed too. Almada, who pulled at Gavi's bib in the middle of the chaos, also under review. This isn't a one-man problem anymore. FIFA's investigation is looking at the entire Argentina bench, coaching staff included, because Scaloni himself was seen physically restraining his own players on live television, in front of the entire world. Now think about the optics of that for a second. A head coach, one of the most respected in the sport, having to physically hold back grown men from throwing punches seconds after losing the biggest game of their careers. That's not just bad sportsmanship. That's a loss of control. And in football, when a federation loses control on the biggest stage in the sport, FIFA doesn't just let that go quietly. There's also something else worth mentioning. This wasn't the only ugly moment of the entire tournament involving Argentina. Earlier in the World Cup, before the final even happened, there was already tension bubbling. Fans clashing. Confrontations building match after match. So by the time this final rolled around, some analysts are saying the brawl wasn't really a surprise at all. It was almost inevitable. The pressure had been building the entire tournament, and it just happened to explode on the biggest stage possible, in front of the biggest audience possible. And that's really the story here, isn't it? It's not just about one chokehold or one shove or one player turning his back on a trophy ceremony. It's about a pattern of tension, a pattern of losing control, a pattern that keeps following this team onto the world's biggest stages, and this time, there was nowhere to hide it. So while Spain celebrates their second World Cup title, and while Messi walks away with his head held high despite the heartbreak, the conversation around Argentina right now isn't about their football. It's about what happened after the whistle. And that's a headline no team wants attached to a World Cup final. We'll be following this story as FIFA's investigation develops, so if you want to know what happens to Paredes, to Molina, to this entire Argentina squad, make sure you're subscribed, because this story is far from over.